Hi there, I'm Krista. I got a video from my uncle of my own sister mocking me behind my back, laughing about how she used me, lived in my home for free, made a joke out of my life. I stayed silent. For years, I thought I was helping her. Turns out I was just an easy target. She didn't stop at lies. She used my name for loans, tried to wreck my job, even tracked my phone. And the worst part? My family still stood behind her. You ever realize too late that the people you trusted were the ones draining you most? The moment I walked through the door, I kicked off my shoes, dropped my purse by the couch, and collapsed onto the cushions like my body had clocked out without asking me first. The pharmacy had been nonstop. Back-to-back prescriptions, a shipment delay, and one poor guy sobbing because his insurance wouldn't cover his meds. My legs throbbed, my head buzzed. All I wanted was 30 minutes to breathe, maybe scroll mindlessly, and let the day melt into nothing. That's when my phone buzzed. Not a calendar reminder, not a discount alert from Target. A message from Uncle Eli. That alone made me sit up straighter. He's not the texting kind. Birthdays, sure. Christmas, maybe. But a random message on a Thursday night? Never. "You need to see this," it read. A chill crept into my spine as I tapped the video link, thumb suddenly hesitant. It loaded and my stomach dropped. There she was. Darlene, my sister. Sitting in Dad's backyard in the same old lawn chair we'd fought over as kids. The crooked oak tree in the background looked like it hadn't aged a day. But Darlene had. 33, hair curled like she'd just come from a blowout bar, sunglasses perched lazily on her head. She was sipping something over ice, legs crossed like she was on a talk show. She laughed, loud, and then her words hit. "Krista's too dumb to ever kick me out," she said, lifting her drink. "Seriously, I haven't paid a cent in 3 years. Rent-free, baby." Cousin Jake cackled like a jackal. Someone else giggled. Probably Sherry, our neighbor who thinks sarcasm is personality. Even Dad let out a chuckle. A low one. The kind he saves for sitcom reruns and people he tolerates. I blinked, but the screen stayed the same. I hit replay. This time I caught more. "She thinks I'm broke," Darlene said, exaggerating a pout. "Girl, I make more than she does. But why waste it when my idiot sister covers my bills?" They all laughed again. And I felt it. Sharp. Hollow. Like I'd swallowed glass. I remembered that phone call 3 years ago. Her voice cracking, crying about a breakup, saying she'd been kicked out. "Just a few weeks, Liv," she'd begged me. "I swear I'll figure it out." I told her yes. Of course I did. I gave her the guest room, covered her groceries, added her to my Wi-Fi. I defended her when people whispered. "She's going through something," I'd say. "It's family." Family. Replay. "Too dumb to kick me out." Replay. "I make more than she even knows." Replay. "Why waste money when she lets me live for free?" I sat frozen, not blinking, just watching. My phone got warm in my hand. My jaw clenched until my teeth ached, but I didn't scream, didn't throw it. I texted Eli back. "Thanks, don't say anything, I'll handle it." Then I leaned back on the couch, feeling the silence settle around me like a second skin. The past 3 years rewrote themselves in my head. Every, "I'll get a job soon," every empty promise, every time I bought oat milk and wondered where it went so fast. She wasn't struggling, she was playing me. I didn't cry, I didn't shout. I stared at the ceiling for hours that night, not blinking, not breathing, just planning. By Saturday morning, my mind had sharpened. I didn't pace, I didn't rant, I just waited for the moment I'd see her again, not to confront her, but to study her. Dad was hosting a backyard barbecue, something casual. Darlene would be there, of course, probably wearing that fake smile she uses when she's trying to win people over. I told myself I'd go, smile, nod, eat my ribs, and watch. I pulled into Dad's driveway right before noon. The same faded folding chairs were scattered across the lawn, the grill already sizzling. The scent of charcoal and smoked meat hit me like muscle memory. Jake raised a beer when he saw me. Sherry waved, and Dad called out from the porch like nothing had changed. And there she was. Darlene, in cut-off jeans and a pastel top, leaned in and hugged me like we were best friends from summer camp. "You came!" she squealed, too loud. "I wasn't sure you'd show." I smiled, barely. "Wouldn't miss it." The conversation swirled, but my ears stayed tuned to her voice. She laughed easily, louder than everyone. She poured drinks like she lived here. She belonged, and I felt like a guest in a house that used to be mine. I sat with a plate of food I didn't touch, chewing over her body language, her tone, the way Dad looked at her when she handed him a cold drink. Like she was the golden child. Like she hadn't just mocked her own sister behind her back. Then it happened. We were all sitting around the patio table, sun starting to dip. Darlene leaned back with her drink and tossed her hair. "You know," she said, voice syrupy sweet, "it's a good thing Krista's so stable. She'll probably let me live with her until I'm 50. Laughter. Jake snorted into his cup. Sherry clapped her hands. "Dad?" Dad let out that low chuckle again. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I just smiled, holding my plastic cup so tightly it creaked. She was testing me, and none of them, saw it. I stayed 10 more minutes, made a quiet excuse, left the plate behind. Driving home, I didn't turn on music, didn't cry. My hands were steady on the wheel, but something in my chest twisted. They all laughed. Not one of them thought to ask if it was okay. And that night, for the first time, I stopped blaming her and started blaming myself for staying silent. By Monday, I knew I couldn't sit with this alone anymore. Pretending I was okay, pretending the video and that awful barbecue didn't twist something deep inside me, it was exhausting. I needed to talk to someone who wasn't tangled up in our family's blind spots. I texted Jenna, my oldest friend, someone who'd known both me and Darlene before we became strangers under the same roof. We met at a quiet coffee shop just a few blocks from my place. Jenna was already seated, 2 iced teas in front of her. She looked up with that familiar crease between her brows. "You okay? You look tense?" I shrugged and slid into the chair across from her. "It's been a weird week." She tilted her head, waiting. I didn't tell her everything, not yet. Just said something happened with Darlene that made me question a lot. I kept it vague, but Jenna wasn't stupid. "You know," she started, stirring her drink slowly, "this might not help, but she did the same thing to Wes." I blinked. "Your ex-fiancé?" Jenna nodded, her voice suddenly lower. "She lived with us for a while, remember? Claimed she lost her apartment. Wes let her stay out of pity. She said she was job hunting, but turns out she never applied anywhere. She used his credit card, even made a fake job offer email to get out of paying for anything." My stomach tightened. She kept talking. When he finally asked her to move out, she flipped it on him, told everyone he was emotionally abusive, turned a bunch of our mutual friends against him. He ended up seeing a therapist just to process the whole thing. I sat there stunned, like someone had yanked a curtain back. This wasn't about me. It never was. This was what she did. The drive home blurred past storefronts and stoplights. I barely remembered making the turns. In my head, I replayed the past 3 years, her crying with smeared mascara, promising to find a job soon, saying she just needed time. How I defended her every time someone hinted she might be taking advantage of me. No more excuses. She wasn't broken. She was practiced. At home, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. My hands were steady as I typed, "Tenant Rights Texas, how to evict a family member legally." I didn't hit print, not yet, but the research was saved. The tab stayed open, and just like that, I knew I wasn't the first, but I could be the last. Saturday morning crept in, slow, sunlight filtering through my blinds as if the world had no idea what I knew now. I moved through the house on autopilot. Laundry, dishes, wiped the counter twice just to have something to do with my hands. The weight of truth hung in the air like a thundercloud that hadn't burst yet. That's when I heard the printer. A single whir, then silence. No one else was home. I wasn't printing anything. I walked into the office, more curious than concerned, and found a single sheet resting in the output tray. Not mine. My name wasn't on it. It was a bank statement. I squinted at the header, heart slowing as I read. Darlene Whitmore, her name, her account, dated just last week, ending balance, $45,381.62. I stared at the number like it had insulted me out loud. Scrolling down, I saw deposit after deposit, each from a real estate brokerage I'd never heard her mention. Commission payments, thousands at a time. One had landed the same week she claimed she couldn't afford to pitch in on groceries. She had money, real money, stashed away while I paid for her almond milk and Spotify premium. I sat down, hard, the paper still warm in my hand. 3 years of lies now in black and white. It hadn't been bad luck, a rough breakup, or some extended recovery. It had been a game. And I was the punchline. I didn't march into her room. I didn't scream down the hallway. I opened a file drawer, slipped the statement into a labeled envelope, and placed it neatly inside. Then I turned to the computer, opened the lease template I'd downloaded earlier, and hit print. My pulse was steady. My eyes felt dry. Not because I was calm, because I was done. Done excusing, explaining, absorbing. I had evidence now. I didn't need her confession. Over coffee, I mapped it out in my head, how I'd bring it up, keep it light at first. Hey, let's talk about next month. Then set the number. $1,200? Below market. Generous even. And if she scoffed, rolled her eyes, laughed like it was a joke? Well, I wasn't joking anymore. I didn't slam the door. I didn't scream. I just printed the lease and smiled. That evening, I made dinner like nothing had changed. Chicken stir-fry, her favorite. I set the table, lit the citronella candle she always forgot to blow out, and waited. Darlene came down in her oversized hoodie, scrolling through her phone, oblivious to the tension simmering just beneath the surface. She sat, forked a piece of chicken, and said, "You didn't overcook it this time." Then smiled like she was being charming, like that was kindness. I waited until she was halfway through her second helping. Then I placed the lease on the table, right next to her napkin. Her chewing slowed. "What's this?" I kept my tone light, like I wasn't watching her every muscle twitch. "I'm offering you a chance to stay, on my terms." She laughed, sharp and dismissive. "Wait, what? You're charging me rent now?" She tapped the paper. $1,200 a month? Are you serious?" "As a heart attack," I said. "Starting next month." She leaned back, brows raised like she couldn't believe the audacity. "Krista, come on, we're family. That's not a pass to freeload." "Freeload?" Her voice cracked an octave higher. "I've been dealing with a lot." "You've been hiding a lot," I said, nodding toward her untouched wine, "including a pretty healthy bank balance." That shut her up for a second. Then came the sigh, the hand to the heart. Okay, I get it. You're upset. But I'll pay. Just give me some time to move things around." "Sure," I replied. But I didn't believe a word of it. Later that night, I set a reminder on my phone for the 1st of the month. Rent due, don't forget who she is. I poured myself a glass of water, sat at the kitchen counter, and stared at the lease still lying there. She hadn't signed it, of course she hadn't. But she hadn't walked away either. I opened my journal, wrote a single sentence. I finally stopped waiting for her to change. The house was quiet, my house, and for the first time in years, I looked around and felt like I belonged. I whispered aloud, steady and sure. "This time I'll be ready." She thought she won again, but I already knew how this round would end. Over the next week, the air between us thickened. Darlene moved around the house like nothing had been said, like no lease had been printed. She laughed louder, left more messes, spent hours on my couch scrolling through her phone like a bored queen. No rent, no apology, just more of her being her. I watched, measured, waited. Then, on Thursday, I got the call. A woman from First Trust Credit Union asked to confirm my employment and income for a personal loan application. "I didn't apply for any loan," I said slowly. She paused. "It was submitted online yesterday, under your name, social security, and home address." I nearly dropped the phone. After I hung up, I checked my purse. My ID was still there. My documents hadn't moved. But Darlene had used my office laptop last night while I was in the shower. Said she was checking a Zillow listing. I felt my stomach drop. This wasn't just freeloading. This was theft. She'd used my identity to try and take out $5,000, probably thinking I wouldn't notice, like everything else she took. But that wasn't even the end of it. The next morning, my supervisor, Linda, called me into her office. "We received a complaint," she said, handing me a printed email. "Apparently a customer was emailed incorrect refill instructions from your account." My name, my work email, my error, except I hadn't touched that file. I stared at the page. Last night, while I slept, Darlene had borrowed my laptop again. Twice now she'd moved past lying. Now she was playing with fire, my credit, my job, my future. I left work early, drove home in silence. The house looked the same, but I didn't. That night, I called the credit union back, started the fraud report. I placed a freeze on my credit and reset every password I had, even the useless ones. Then I printed a second document. This time, it wasn't a lease, it was an eviction notice. I tucked it into a folder labeled April. I wasn't ready to serve it yet, but it was coming. She wanted to see how far I'd let her go. I just showed her where the line ends. By the first week of April, I had rehearsed the eviction speech so many times in my head, it practically hummed through my veins. But before I could act, she struck first. It started Monday morning with a calendar invite, mandatory HR meeting, no context, no subject line, just a sterile room with 2 suits and a printout. The director handed me a copy of an email. Anonymous, bold letters, accusing me of unethical access to controlled substance logs, claiming I used my credentials to look up someone's private file. I felt my cheeks flush cold. I scanned it again. No dates, no patient names, just language meant to wound. I looked up at them. It's false. I didn't touch anything outside protocol. They nodded slowly, not committing either way. We're investigating, one said. This kind of accusation, it follows people. I walked out with a headache pounding behind my eyes and suspicion nesting in my gut. This was Darlene. It reeked of her, messy but clever. Nothing specific, just enough smoke to suggest fire. That night, my phone buzzed nonstop. A post from someone named Mandy, mutual friend of a cousin. The caption read, "Sad when family turns on you just because you're getting your life together. Jealousy is a disease." Dozens of likes. Comments like, "Let haters hate" and "Been there, girl." I didn't comment. I didn't need to. It was obvious who the post was about. I stared at the screen, my hands numb. She was trying to humiliate me, publicly, professionally, personally. But the difference now, I was done playing defense. I walked into the kitchen. She was there, pretending to do dishes. "Why?" I asked flatly. "Why now?" She didn't even turn around. "Why what? I haven't done anything." I kept my voice even. "You sent that email to my work? You've been stirring crap online." Finally she turned, towel in hand. "Still playing the victim, huh?" "No," I said. "I'm just done letting you rewrite the story." She rolled her eyes. "You always think you're better. Just because you have a little job and a lease." I took a breath. You wanted war. You got it. The next morning I sent a formal 14-day notice to vacate, certified mail. I forwarded my boss every document I had, screenshots, fraud report, timestamps. I filed a police report just to have it on record, and in my notebook I wrote, "The next time she touches my life, it's court." Her silence wasn't fear, it was calculation, and I had just declared war. The house was silent, but my phone wasn't. For days I'd noticed it overheating, apps crashing for no reason, strange lags when I typed. At first I thought it was just age or an update gone wrong, but it didn't sit right. So I brought it to Mason, a tech at work who once jailbroke his phone just to prove he could. Within 10 minutes, he held it up with a grim face. "You've got spyware, hidden tracking app, installed through sideloading, probably when someone had physical access." I didn't have to ask who. Back home, I stood in the middle of my kitchen, phone clutched like it might burn me. Darlene had been in my room near my bag. She'd touched my things, my data, my privacy. She knew when I left work, when I got home. She probably saw texts I thought were private. I deleted the app. Changed everything. Again. But deleting code didn't undo the invasion. Later that afternoon, I drove to Uncle Eli's place. I didn't call first. I just showed up. He opened the door, took one look at me, and nodded. "She did it to your mom, too," he said before I even spoke. We sat at his kitchen table. I didn't touch the coffee he poured. My hands were too tight. "She lived off her for years," he said quietly. "Gaslit her. Watched her fall apart. Told the family your mom exaggerated everything." I stared at the table's grain, letting it all land. She used her, just like she's using you. I felt something cold and sharp crack inside me, then melt away into something stronger. Back at home, I opened the file drawer again. This time, I printed everything. Harassment logs, screenshots, credit reports. I built a timeline, labeled folders, organized emails. If she tried one more thing, I'd walk into court with enough evidence to sink her. I taped the final document, eviction notice, to the back of my closet door. That night, I moved through my space like it was a bunker. I cooked dinner, answered emails, brushed my teeth. She hadn't broken me. She'd prepared me. She thought she had taken everything, until she saw what I had left. The driveway was empty when I pulled in. Her car was gone. The front door still hung open a crack, a box leaning half collapsed against the frame. Inside, the air felt lighter. Not joyful, not triumphant. Just breathable. No goodbye. No slammed door. Just gone. She'd taken most of her things, though not all. In the kitchen, I found a credit card bill she must have dropped on the counter. I picked it up, brows furrowed. The name was mine. The charges weren't. $1,347.52. Spent 2 days after the eviction notice went out. Makeup, Uber rides, some boutique spa in Midtown. She was already celebrating with my name. I called the credit card company, froze the card, flagged the charges. While I was on hold, another memory hit. 2 weeks back, I'd gotten a notification from my pharmacy. A refill had been picked up under my name. One I never requested. The dates lined up too well. The surveillance, the fraud, the lies. I faxed everything to my attorney and emailed the police report I'd filed. It wasn't just my story anymore. Later that week, I sat across from my father in his backyard. He poured lemonade like this was any other afternoon. Then, out of nowhere, he said, "You didn't have to go that far. She's still your sister." I stared at him. He meant it. Like blood somehow made theft softer, like DNA excused surveillance. I took a breath. That's exactly why I had to, because she isn't acting like one. He looked away, said nothing, and I didn't push it. A few days later, the house settled. Not just physically, but emotionally. I cooked with music on, lit a candle while I folded laundry. I didn't look over my shoulder. No one borrowed my things. No one erased emails or left dishes in the sink. Just stillness. Then, a text from Uncle Eli. "Proud of you, kid." I didn't cry, but I did smile. I opened my journal that night and wrote, "I loved her. I tried to help, but help became harm and silence made me complicit." The final line, "I didn't get justice by screaming. I got it by not being silent anymore." Sometimes the hardest part isn't letting someone go. It's admitting they were never holding your hand to begin with. If you're watching this and you've ever stayed silent, hoping love would fix what someone else kept breaking, please know this. Boundaries aren't betrayal. Speaking up isn't cruelty. And walking away isn't weakness. It took me years to realize that being the good one doesn't mean being the doormat. It means knowing your worth, even when the people you love don't see it. If someone in your life is draining you, disrespecting you, using your kindness like currency, it's okay to stop letting it slide. You deserve peace, you deserve safety, you deserve truth, even if it means standing alone. This story wasn't easy to live, but if it gives even one of you the strength to speak up, then maybe it was worth it. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been in a situation where loyalty turned into self-destruction? Would you have handled things the way I did? Or would you have acted sooner? Let's talk about it in the comments. If this story hit home, drop a 1 below. Tell me what state or country you're watching from. I'd love to know who's out there listening. And if this video made you think, feel, or breathe a little differently, subscribe to this channel for more real, raw, human stories. We've got more to tell. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Stay strong, stay smart. And most of all, stay you. I'll see you in the next one.